Have you ever wondered why Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes? Or why its motto, L'Étoile du Nord, is the only state motto in French? Well, it's time to dive into the fascinating history of Minnesota and uncover these secrets. Minnesota, nestled in the upper Midwestern region of the United States, is a state teeming with more than 14,000 bodies of fresh water, each covering at least 10 acres. This abundance of natural beauty, coupled with its vast stretches of forest, prairie, and farmland, gives Minnesota its well-earned nickname. Our journey begins in the 11th century BCE, during the Woodland period, when various indigenous peoples first inhabited what we now know as Minnesota. Between roughly 200 and 500 CE, two areas of the indigenous Hopewell tradition emerged: the Laurel Complex in the north and Trempealeau Hopewell in the Mississippi River Valley in the south. By around 1000 CE, the Upper Mississippian culture, consisting of the Oneota people and other Siouan speakers, had established itself, lasting through the arrival of Europeans in the 17th century. The first Europeans to set foot in the region were French explorers and missionaries who encountered the Dakota, Ojibwe, and various Anishinaabe tribes. Much of what we now know as Minnesota was once part of the vast French holding of Louisiana, which the United States purchased in 1803. After several territorial reorganizations, the Minnesota Territory was admitted to the Union as the 32nd state in 1858. The state's official motto, L'Étoile du Nord, which translates to the Star of the North, was adopted shortly after statehood and reflects both the state's early French explorers and its position as the northernmost state in the contiguous U.S. Minnesota, as part of the American frontier, attracted settlers and homesteaders from across the country. Its growth was initially fueled by timber, agriculture, and railroad construction. Throughout the early 20th century, European immigrants, particularly from Scandinavia, Germany, and Central Europe, arrived in significant numbers, influencing the state's development as a center of labor and social activism. As we move into the late 20th century, Minnesota's economy began to diversify, shifting away from traditional industries such as agriculture and resource extraction to services, finance, and healthcare. This shift has positioned Minnesota as one of the richest states in terms of GDP and per capita income. Today, Minnesota is home to 11 federally recognized Native American reservations, and its culture, demographics, and religious landscape reflect Scandinavian and German influences. Over recent decades, the state has become increasingly multicultural, driven by both larger domestic migration and immigration from Latin America, Asia, the Horn of Africa, and the Middle East. In summary, the history of Minnesota is a rich tapestry woven with threads of indigenous culture, French exploration, European immigration, and economic diversification. From its beginnings as the home of indigenous tribes to its current status as a multicultural, economically prosperous state, Minnesota continues to shine as the Star of the North,